So I follow Peter Lindgren, and my guy posted a video about epic freeze frames.
Today I'm going to show you how to make an effect that looks like this. Stop!
Low-key, I was a little excited because I saw his thumbnail and it was looking real good, and I kind of wanted to learn a new trick for Final Cut, but he used a plugin. Now, I've used a lot of motion VFX's plugins, so I know they work great and that they're, fantastic. But your boy here is trying to save some money, so this wasn't going to be a good fit for me. But, his video did inspire me to come up with my own way to do freeze frame for free 99. And here's what I came up with. This is a clip of a buddy of mine that I'm going to use. It was telling a story at this time, and I'm going to look for a good point to see where he has some good motions going on in this part of his storytelling, so we can freeze frame on that. You can use Command H to freeze the clip. Feel free to draw it out as long as you like. I'm going to make mine about this long. Next, duplicate the clip and place it above. Next, we need to place a mask on the top clip. Now, I love masks, but I don't got the patience to make it all perfect. So I'm going to fast forward through this and take my time. So once you have the mask, you can play with the feathering to get it to look as clean as possible. And then after you get the mask working, let's go and add in some Gaussian blur to the bottom clip. And then now it's time to animate. Okay, so on the bottom clip, go to the beginning of the freeze frame and set key points for the amount in the Gaussian blur and set that to 0. And then on the top clip, you want to set a key point on the scale. Next, move 3 frames forward. And on the top clip, change the scale to something bigger. I'm going to use about 10% bigger, so I'm going to set it to 110%. And then for the bottom clip, set the Gaussian blur to the default amount, which is about 50. Next, go to the end of the freeze frame and then move about 3 frames back. For the top clip, we want to keep the motion going during the freeze frame, so we're going to set the scale to something bigger than the 110%. I'm going to put mine to 120%. This would allow basically this cutout to continue to grow as the freeze frame progresses. And then on the bottom clip, we're going to set a keyframe, but we don't have to do anything else to it. Now you're going to move 3 frames forward, and then you're going to set the top clip to the default 100%. So put the scale back to 100, and then you're going to set the bottom clip's Gaussian blur amount to 0. This whole going 3 frames forward and 3 frames back, we're going to be doing that a lot. So it's best to set a marker on the beginning and 3 points forward, and then go to the end and then 3 frames back. Now we're going to add some text. So go to titles, build in and out, and you're going to choose drifting. Drifting seems to have a dope effect. So place it about 2 or 3 frames before it starts, because there's a small gap in between, and you want it to be in motion when the animation for the freeze frame starts. And then make sure you stretch the whole drifting title all the way to the end. Choose where you want the title to go. Choose your fonts. And let's choose a text. Now we're going to select both the title and the top clip, and we're going to create a new compound clip. In the compound clip, you're going to add in a bit of motion blur if you have the plugin. If you don't, this is an optional thing. So what makes this come to life is the sound. This is the pivotal part of all of this. So first we're going to get the small bell sound, reverse it and make it the length of the freeze frame. Make sure that the climax of the bell sound is at the end of the freeze frame. Now we're going to add in some whoosh sounds. So a lot of the whooshes that I have, I kind of scour the internet for it, and I found a lot of free stuff. So if you don't have any, go scouring. I don't remember where I picked up mine from, because I had them from a long time ago, but feel free to go look up some. You would want one to sound something close to this. So next we're going to put the whoosh sound at the beginning of the freeze frame. We want the peak of it to be about where the freeze frame starts. We need to make a duplicate of it, then reverse it. and then make sure that the peak is at the end. Since I'm not using fire like, what Pete from Sweden is using, I'm going to use an electric riser. So I also have lens distortion, so I'm just going to use the electric riser from their set. But use whatever sound works for you. You don't have to do electricity or fire. You can use whatever works best for the type of freeze frame that you're making. So you may have like an avalanche sound, who knows? But use what works for you. Now that the sound is just about done, I'm going to add in a bit of visual accoutrements. You like that, didn't you? Accoutrements. Very fancy, I am. Alright, so I'm going to be using light flares and dust particles and whatever else I can find on my hard drive. Most of these I scraped off the internet just like I did my sounds, so feel free to go and scour the internet to find a lot of this stuff. Like, you can find them for free in a lot of places. So I'm going to use this lens flare and I'm going to use also dust particles that I found off of like a royalty-free site as well. Here's the horizontal lens flare. Basically, I'm going to first get rid of the blackness around it by setting the blend mode to add. And then I'm going to place this in between the top and the bottom clip. That way the flare can show up behind the cutout or behind the subject, but still on top of the background. Okay, so now I'm also adding in dust particles. I place one of them in between the compound clip and the bottom clip, and I place one of it on top of the compound clip. This way, it'll help sell the 3D effect that, the particles are both in front and behind him. For the dust particles on top, I'm going to change the orientation to be vertical. That way, the particles seem more random and it doesn't look all uniformed. I also found this other lens flare that I think is going to complement this horizontal one really well. So I'm going to toss this in here too. I'm going to put it behind the compound clip and set the blend mode to add. I also want the background to shake a bit, so I'm going to add the handheld effect to the bottom clip. So to add a little bit more oomph, I'm going to add this little magic beam that I bought a while back. So I'm going to create two of them so I can overlap them together because I want it to last the duration of the freeze frame. And then for visual contrast, I'm going to also animate this solid generator to move on and off the screen at the beginning and end of the freeze frames. Specifically, I'm going to animate the distort parameters and have them animate in at like a wonky angle. And lastly, I'm going to drop in a sub drop from Peter McKinnon's sound pack. And here's the final result. Let me know how this works for you. So I would love to see and check out everyone's freeze frames. But I hope this helps, man. And Pete Lindgren, Pete from Sweden, if you happen to watch this, try it out. Let me know if it works for you and if you think it's cool. Oh, if you don't mind, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you can, hit the bell. I'm going to try and put out some cool stuff. So thanks again. Later, you guys.